fans, Black Friday has come early this year, and we're ripping up our prices for a limited time only. Get the heaviest hitting deal of the year. Save up to 33% on all plans and stack up your fight calendar with over 150 fights a year. Live on DAZN.
What a fight we have here in our main event.
And then enjoy a knockout November schedule. Subscribe before November 29th. Sign up at DAZN.com/boxing.
So it's been about a week now, thereabouts, since Eddie Hearn announced that Anthony Joshua, I'm just going to say it's unlikely that he'll go ahead with the Danny Dubois rematch. You never really fully know until, things come around, but let's just say at this moment in time, it's unlikely that he'll be going ahead with the rematch with Danny Dubois. Therefore, the question really is, what will happen next? Now, I know Eddie Hearn is going to turn around and say, and he already did it, that, we're going to wait and target the winner of Fury Usyk, and if it's Tyson Fury, we'll look to do that fight in May, all that good stuff. Yeah. In reality, though, what is he going to do next? Because it would leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths if... It wouldn't leave a bad taste in people's mouths if Tyson Fury beat Alexander Usyk, especially if it was legit. No. But it would leave, I think, a bad taste in people's mouths if he was to then defend it against Anthony Joshua, coming off the back of a loss, and not just a loss in which he was beaten, but comprehensively beaten. And as I said, this is the thing now. This isn't really the new thing in boxing. And it's really only been... I guess it is one of the downsides of if there is any downsides of the Saudis being involved, is that we've seen a lot more rematches, which I think that was really starting to come into it before they came along, to be fair. Rematches for, mandatories and stuff like that were starting to kind of come into it, which I don't agree with. But now we're seeing, and it's not just Anthony Joshua, if it is the case, we've seen, potentially it was almost Josh Warrington almost got a title shot against Kache, which would have been wrong, in my opinion. Pretty sure we've seen one not so long ago, Tim Tszyu, and that's not even Saudi involvement, that's PBC. We're starting to see it more in the modern boxing that a fighter coming off a loss, in Tim Tszyu's case it was a competitive loss, they're getting immediate cracks, which again, I personally don't agree with. And I think that the WBO are steadfast. If you lose, you can't get an immediate crack at a champion. You have to get a win back. Fair enough. That's legit and that's fair. No issue there. But with the other sanctioned bodies, it just seems, okay, just fight for a title. Fight for a title. No. I think you shouldn't be fighting for a title coming off the back of a loss. Especially a loss like Anthony Joshua. So when Eddie Hearn says, we'll wait and see if Fury wins, we'll try and do it. They're still obviously trying to do Fury versus Joshua. Listen, I think that it would be wrong if they waited it out, and it'd be wrong if they got the first crack. Especially if it's a fight, we'll say, with Alexander that's very competitive, and maybe, Fury wins it, but he only edges it, and maybe there's calls for a trilogy fight, and then Joshua jumps the queue. No, I wouldn't agree with it. If it's not going to be Danny Dubois, and if it's not going to be Tyson Fury, what would be next for Anthony Joshua? I've heard people say that he should retire following on from that defeat, and certainly Eddie Hearn said that he had niggles, so that would imply he's got a couple of injuries, but I'd say it's more than a couple. I'd say neurologically that's going to take some getting over. Mentally, the fact that it was on such a big stage, he was knocked out like that, and then the memes were just instant. Mentally, that's going to take some getting over. And as I said about the neurological effect, I think it was the MVP, Michael Vernon Page. Now, he briefly boxed. He was actually promoted by David Hay, if you may remember, on those Dave shows he used to do back in the day. Dave, the comedy channel, yes, that Dave. And I guess some of the fights were comedy, really, to be fair, like Jajai, that was, and Shannon Briggs was on that card as well. So, when comedy, yeah, there you go. But he was in Bellator, he got knocked out in. Well, he got knocked out quite bad. I think he was concussed. And he was saying months after the fact he still wasn't feeling good. I mean, there is the post-concussion syndrome, I believe is the actual name. There may be a more scientific name, but I know that's one of the abbreviations they use, where, you've been concussed and you're still not right many months down the line. Now, I think that's more so if it's really untreated, and it can really have a bad effect. And I'm sure in boxing, there are parts that are very much, and the British Boxing Board of Control are very, very good with their aftercare and medical stuff and stuff like that. I would say aftercare and medical more so. So I'm sure none of that would really be too much of an issue. But you got to figure a fighter who's getting up there in age, and Anthony Joshua, 35 years old now, a fight like that, in which there's a good chance, he took a lot of headshots, big headshots from someone like Daniel Dubois, a big puncher, that there could be some, I'm not going to say, he's not going to end up speaking like Riddick Bowe or anyone like that, but you know what I mean, that there could be some residual damage. So in that scenario, you'd say, what do you do next? Because Joshua, following on from a fight like that, is really going to age you. It's going to age you big time. And if you went in there straight for the jugular again with Dubois, or even with a Fury, who I think has seen better days, and he may not be quite what he was when he fights Alexander Usyk. I didn't think he was quite what he was going into the first fight, but he took a beating in the first fight, so he might not be quite what he was. But he was hurt, and he took a lot of shots, but he was never down and flat on his face like Anthony Joshua was. He wasn't bounced off the canvas several times and hurt several times prior to that. So I think he would probably have a little bit more left from the tank, certainly after that defeat Anthony Joshua suffered. Therefore, the question is, what should he do next? And I've said this a few times, and I think it is the best course of action for Anthony Joshua. It would be to go and almost take a victory lap against your contemporaries or against your former rivals who are in a similar situation in their careers to you. Dylan White, he fought in Castlebar, County Mayo on the west coast of Ireland in a hotel leisure centre. Yes, you heard me correct. He went from Wembley Stadium in 2 years. He went from Wembley Stadium to a little hotel in Castlebar, County Mayo off the west coast of Ireland, fighting in front of maybe 1,000 people. Yeah. And not looking particularly good doing it. That's where Dylan White is. Now, we don't know what the situation is with him and the British Boxing Board after what happened last year with obviously the adverse analytical finding, as Vada call it. I don't know. He was meant to fight Anthony Joshua in the O2 that particular day. Obviously, well, actually, it was about a week prior, thereabouts. I think Dylan White is well and truly finished at this point. So, Joshua, Dylan White, what's the problem? Both are probably at a similar stage in their careers. They could, I hope I didn't bump off the mic there. Both are at a similar stage in their respective careers, and I think both have seen better days. There you go, there's someone on your level. If you want a bigger name, that will be a more kind of worldwide universal fight. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, both coming off, Deontay Wilder's coming off back-to-back defeats, but both coming off stoppage losses in the 5th round. Deontay Wilder, well, they were both really bad knockouts, to be fair. They were both, neither guy can really say it was an easy knockout or anything. They were both pretty heavy knockdowns, but Wilder never took the punishment against Zhilei Zhang that Anthony Joshua did. So you would say, and Wilder's very gun shy, Joshua's still trying to let the big shots go. He is, to his credit. So there might be a case of Joshua goes in and tries to put it on Wilder. Maybe Joshua's the opponent that Wilder needs to bring out the old bronze bomber, the bomb squad. Maybe that's what he needs. So I think there are two potential fights for Anthony Joshua that if he was to stick around in boxing, I could easily see him happen. I could easily see happening, and I would easily happily put money in my pocket to watch both of them fights. Maybe not Dylan White, but definitely Deontay Wilder, because there's entertainment at all levels. In terms of him against Fury, in terms of him against Usyk, if Usyk decided to give Joshua a crack again, coming off a loss, I wouldn't agree with it. I wouldn't pick him over either at this point. And against Daniel Dubois, I mean, I just can't. I mean, how do you rationale this in your mind that you go in against Dubois, you get annihilated, and your promoter is basically saying, we could be fighting Dubois next, but we could be fighting Tyson Fury, so let's do that. It's like, as if you're almost speaking as though Joshua won the fight. In that scenario, Eddie Hearn, you're almost speaking about it as though Joshua won. Why throw Dubois? Let's fight Tyson Fury again. And let's just fight Tyson Fury if he beats Usyk. It's like, really? No. I think that the fights to make for Anthony Joshua at this stage in his career, Joe Joyce would be another one. They're the fights to make. Almost treat the next year or so as a victory lap. Because Joshua doesn't need them. He doesn't need to fight on. I know he's saying he wants to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. Listen, you got to figure this right. If Joshua was to, say, hypothetically speaking, we're talking in hypothetical terms here, say he was to go and fight the winner of Fury Usyk, say it's Tyson Fury, say Tyson Fury gets through the Alexander Usyk fight but takes a lot of punishment and he's a shell of himself, and Joshua picks up a title. Well, that's great. You're in the history books. 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. Well done. Are you retiring or are you staying on? Because if you're going to stay on, well then there's Daniel Dubois. There's Moses Atelma on the come up. There's Fabio Wadley. You look across the pond, you know, I think Jared Anderson still has something to give. You also have to look at the likes of Yalalov, up and coming. It's a new generation. They're going to be fresh and they're going to be hungry, and they are going to look at someone like Anthony Joshua and think, oh yeah, let's go, Pops. I'm going to be the guy who retires you. And that's more than likely what's going to end up happening now. If he wins a title and just happens to sail off into the sunset, happy days, fair enough. But it's not going to get any easier. And he's getting older. So I think, for me, when I look at Joshua, the career he's had, nothing to be ashamed of. It's saying that like it wasn't a great career. It was a Hall of Fame career. It was a brilliant career. Absolutely exceptional career he had. He tried to unify it every chance he got. He tried to fight all his contemporaries. He fought most of them. He wasn't good enough against the likes of Alexander Usyk. He got beat against Andy Ruiz. It happens. He fought a young, hungry lion in Daniel Dubois. He got annihilated. So what? He's got some good wins there. Klitschko, Parker, Povetkin, Pulev, Ruiz. It's a good resume. It's not a resume to be ashamed of. And I think, again, as I said, taking a victory lap against someone like a Dylan White, Deontay Wilder, Joe Joyce, although there's a potential that he might be fighting Tony Yoka, but you get what I mean. There's no shame in going down that road. And people would pay, as I said, Deontay Wilder, Turkey, it's between Fury and Wilder. That seems to be the way he wants to bring Joshua. You know, if Deontay Wilder, if Deontay Wilder had beaten Zhilei Zhang on the Matchroom Queensbury 5v5 show, Joshua would never have fought Dubois in Wembley Stadium. He would have fought Wilder. They probably would have done it non-title, because that commercially was a bigger fight than even a heavyweight title fight. And I think Turkey knew that as well. So, you know, it's the way things go. He didn't do it, but they're both at that level now in their careers where I think both guys have seen better days. Why not just do it? Wilder versus Joshua. Instead of chasing something that maybe just physically you're just not going to be able to do it now. You know? But that's just me thinking out loud. Let me know you never know. Joshua may end up fighting Dubois, may end up fighting Fury, may end up never fighting again, who knows. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Peace.